Welcome back, MSc second year class, subject Restoration Ecology and Watershed Management. Today we are discussing the topic of restoration of urban ecosystem. In that first point, what does ecological restoration in urban areas? So basic introduction of urban area. More than half of the world population now lies in cities, and in response to the dynamic pattern of urbanization, a growing number of ecologists, land managers, and volunteers are focusing their efforts in and around cities to restore remnant of natural diversity. Ecological restoration is still a quite youthful field, yet many scientists and practitioners hold a relatively fixed set of criteria for what defines a successful restoration project, irrespective of where sites are located. Among the criteria commonly stated, site should be composed of indigenous species, have a structure and diversity characteristics of currently undisturbed or historically documented reference site, and be maintained through ecological processes such as fire that ensure long-term sustainability with minimal human assistance. We are entering a new urban era in which the ecology of the planet as a whole is increasingly influenced by human activities, which cities are crucial centers of demand for ecosystem services and sources of environmental impact. Approximately 60% of the urban land expected to exist 2030 is forecast to be built in 2000 to 2030. Therefore, the urbanization presents a fundamental challenges but also unprecedented opportunities to enhance the resilience and ecological functionings of urban systems. For example, urban ecosystem, that is the urban green and blue infrastructure, they have a crucial role in increasing the adaptive capacity to cope with climate change. Analysis of urban investment in green infrastructure and ecosystem based adaptation to climate change are gaining interest, particularly since such investment simultaneously generate many other services enhancing human well-being. Furthermore, there is growing interest in restoring urban ecosystems, spurred in part by commitments made by the parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity to restore at least 15% of degraded ecosystem by 2020. Investing in urban green and blue infrastructure constitutes a tangible contribution that cities can make to the United Nations Agenda on Green Economy for the 21st century and the Sustainable Development Goals. Although several recent studies highlight the importance of urban ecosystem services, still ecosystem dynamics in urban landscape are poorly understood, especially when it comes to designing, creating, and restoring ecological processes, functions, and services in urban areas. Next point in that, urban ecosystem services. Urban ecosystem services are generated in a diverse set of habitats, including green spaces such as park, urban forest, cemeteries, vacant lot, gardens and yard, campus areas, landfill, blue spaces including stream, lake, pond, artificial swells and storm water retention ponds. Urban ecosystem services are generally characterized by a high intensity of demand used to a very large number of immediate local beneficiaries. Compare, for example, to ecosystem services generated in rural areas distant from densely populated areas. In that, the different examples of the service provided by green and blue infrastructure in urban areas. So first one is microclimate regulation, second water regulation, third pollution reduction and health effect, then habitat and last one is cultural services. So we can discuss one by one. First one is microclimate regulation. In microclimate regulation, urban parks and vegetation including green roofs and green walls reduce the urban heat island effect. Data from Manchester, that is United Kingdom, shows that a 10% increases in tree canopy cover may result in 3 to 4 degrees centigrade decreases in ambient temperature and save large amount of energy used in air conditioning. The cooling effect of trees in cities may contribute significantly to reduce energy needs from fossil fuels and cut carbon emissions. Second one is water regulation. Water regulation in that interception of rainfall by trees, other vegetation, and permeable soils in urban areas can also be crucial in reducing the pressure on the drainage system and in lowering the risk of surface water flooding. Urban landscape with 50 to 90% impervious ground cover can lose 40 to 83% of incoming rainfall to surface runoff, whereas forested landscape only lose 13% of rainfall input from similar precipitation events. Third one is pollution reduction and health effect. Urban vegetation is widely reported to improve air quality, although these effects can be context dependent due to the high spatial and temporal variability in and among cities. Many other potentially positive public health benefits have been identified. Green area accessibility has been linked to reduce mortality and improve perceived and actual general health. The distribution and accessibility of green space to different socio-economic groups, however, often reveal large asymmetries in cities, contributing to inequity in both physical and mental health among socio-economic groups. Next is habitat. An important characteristic of urban areas is their mosaic of habitats and a surprisingly high diversity of plant and animal species. In addition to the innate or inherent value of species and biodiversity, this service also provides deeply important benefit for many citizens or many or all cultures, and also for national and local government trying to implement their commitments to reduce biodiversity loss and restoring 15% of all degraded ecosystem, including 10% of the oceans. And the last, cultural services. Many cultural services are associated with urban ecosystem, and there is evidence that biodiversity in urban areas plays a positive role in enhancing human well-being. For example, Fuller et al. Have shown that the psychological benefit of green spaces increase with biodiversity, whereas a green view from a window increases job satisfaction and reduces job stresses. Many studies have shown an increased value of property with greater proximity to green areas. Diverse ecosystem in urban areas may also be implemented in providing design features that can be utilized in the context of eco-design and biomimicry in architecture and urban planning. All these are the urban ecosystem services. Next point in that chapter, that is benefit of restoring ecosystem services in urban areas. In that, center of demand, and second one is restore ecological functions to design. Cities are centers of demand for ecosystem services, and with project doubling of urban population, there will be an accelerating demand of these services. Rapid expansion of urban areas present fundamental challenges, but there are also opportunities to restore ecological functions to design more livable, healthy, and resilient cities. Cities are a key nexus of the relationship between people and nature and are huge centers of demand for ecosystem services and also generate extremely large environmental impact. Current projections of rapid expansion of urban areas present fundamental challenges and also opportunities to design more reliable, healthy, and resilient cities. In that example is adaptation to climate change effect. Next is application of restoration of urban lake and ponds. In that first one is water is an important source of survival of life. Second one, lake or pond play crucial role in maintaining the water level. And third one is urban lake or water bodies. So we are discuss one by one. Urban applications, in that adequate availability of water is prerequisite for survival and quality of human life. With about 1.2 billion people without access to drinking water and about 2.4 billion lacking basic sanitation, the symptoms of emerging global water crisis are too obvious. Water crisis is particularly very severe in highly populated urban areas, and it is going to be further aggravated with world becoming urban as pointed out by the world. The Commission report on environment and sustainability by 2020, the today's most cities have become black holes for water which is being brought from distant point to meet needs for growing urban population. The increasing supply is also generating bigger volumes of wastewater mainly in the form of sewage and industrial effluent, causing additional challenges of urban planning. Lake are an intrinsic part of the ecosystem. A lake or pond is the water body which holds certain volume of water generally in all the seasons of the year. Lake have traditionally served the function of meeting water requirement of the people for drinking, household uses like washing, for agriculture, fishing, and also for religious and cultural purposes. Apart from these functions, which involve direct use of lake water, lakes are also known to recharge groundwater, channelize water flow to prevent waterlogging and flooding. Lakes are also host a wide variety of flora and the fauna. Urban lakes or water bodies are very important features in the landscape. They are vital in the hydrological severe conditions like drought and floods. They influence the microclimate as well as enhance the aesthetic beauty of the landscape and offer various recreational opportunities. The water bodies in urban areas provide a diversity of values and use ranging from ecological goods and services to direct production values. This stored water may be used for consumptive purpose as well as non-consumptive use like irrigation, fishing, ecotourism, etc. These are also sites of artistic, religious and spiritual pursuits. These are essentially relevant social benefits. Therefore, the needs to initiate efforts to restore, conserve, manage and maintain the lake. So all these are the applications of the urban lake or ponds. Next is factor responsible for degradation of lakes. In that, first factor is population explosion, second large scale industrialization, third one is chemical intensive agriculture, and fourth one is water intensive lifestyle. In the last half of the 20th century, the lake underwent unprecedented environmental degradation on account of first population explosion, large scale industrialization, chemical intensive agricultural and water intensive lifestyles. The factors that lead to degradation of lake include urbanization, pollution of water due to sewage, nutrient rich agricultural runoff, and industrial toxic liquid waste and reclamation leading to siltation and loss of morphometry. Urbanization and industrialization of the lake catchment in particular has had its extremely adverse impact as they have become dumping sites for untreated domestic sewage, industrial effluent, and municipal solid waste. The case of small water bodies like kundas is still pathic. Many of these are already reclaimed and the remaining are being systematically destroyed by dumping waste, garbages and silt. The total water spread and depth of all the major reservoirs is progressively reducing due to siltation from natural and man-made factors. Next point in that chapter is impact of urbanization on lake. So first impact is disposal of untreated or partially treated sewage. Second one, industrial wastewater. Third one is eutrophication, then siltation and flooding. Various problems are associated with urban water bodies like high influx of sediments from the lake catchment, disposal of untreated, partially treated sewage and industrial wastewater, solid waste disposal into the water body, entry of diffuse source nutrient from agriculture and forestry, improper management of stormwater, abstraction of lake water, exploitation of lake for recreation, fishing, land reclamation purpose, etc. Increasing encroachment on the bank of the lake, including shoreline erosion, causes deterioration of water quality and upset biodiversity of the lake. All these cause an impact on climate change also. In eutrophication condition, industrial effluent runoff from agricultural field, refuse and sewage, domestic waste like food remnant, soaps, detergent and sewage are dumped into lake which break down and release the nutrient in the lake water. Microscopic organisms ingest these nutrients and survive on them. Following ingestion of carbonic element, carbon dioxide is released while some of the elements are converted into nitrate and phosphate. This is called oxidizing and uses up a lots of oxygen, that is dissolved oxygen. The depleted level of dissolved oxygen in water lead to a situation where other aquatic life form cannot survive. This process is called eutrophication. Next is siltation. Siltation means the water flowing into a lake brings silt, increase deforestation loosen the topsoil which find its way into lake. Some of the silt is washed out when the lake overflow. However, the outflow of silt does not always match the inflow and silt settle at the bottom of the lake. In the flooding condition, traditionally tanks were created as a chain of water bodies to have a cascading system so that the interconnectivity would retain flowing water, maintain its round the year, leaving little room for water to be washed. Such a system is impacted for past some decades. All these are the impacts. The next important point in that chapter is lake conservation. Lakes have been part of the historical as well as social landscape in cities for many centuries. Villages have clustered around many of the water bodies and depend on them for meeting all water related needs from the household uses and livelihood uses. Though these aspects of lake has changed due to the urbanization, there still exist many communities residing around lake who depends on them. Lake continues to exist as common property resources. The social impact of the lake conservation can be broadly categorized with different categories. So all these categories are climate, recreational facilities, encroachment, rainwater harvesting and biodiversity. So first one is climate. Lakes are cooling agents and are essential to the urban microclimate. The cool air, if allowed to flow unrestricted into surrounding urban development, creates a stress-free, smoothing environment for citizens in adjacent localities. Second, recreational facilities. Recreational activities along the urban lake fronts, if promoted in well-planned methods can serve as a new revenue generating measure. The lake can form a part of urban aesthetic and visual links can be established by avoiding barriers like wall and high bunds along the lake. Next point is encroachment. Some areas of the lake front are inaccessible and get inhabited by slums and other unauthorized uses. Such activities can be avoided by giving free access to the public with well landscape spaces along the lakefronts. Next is rainwater harvesting and biodiversity. Lake assist in rainwater harvesting and protection of biological resources, enhance of water quality and watershed management. Further, lakes are home to many aquatic animals and the plants. Therefore, urban lakes have to be in the focus of urban planning and decision making processes as these surface water sources, if protected and managed properly, will create tremendous potential to augment the water supply, if not immediately for drinking, but for other non-potable water requirement of ever increasing urban populations. Thank you.